Hey everyone, I'm here today to show you how to make this super cute little bumblebee from Unis.com. You can also check out her stuff at Unie's Handmade on Facebook. I'm going to be putting a link to the pattern below this video, and I wanted to say thank you to her for allowing me to make this tutorial. This would be a pretty good very first amigurumi project. If you can single crochet, I think you can do this. So for supplies, we will be using a 3.5 millimeter hook. You can use something a little bit smaller, but I wouldn't recommend using anything bigger. A tapestry needle, some scissors. I'm using worsted weight yarn in yellow, black, and white. A piece of contrasting yarn as a stitch marker or something to keep your place. She recommends 8 millimeter safety eyes, but I only have 9 millimeters, so that's what I'm going to be using. I also have some polyfill. All right, let's get started. Okay, the very first thing that we need to do is to make a magic ring. You're going to take the tail of your yarn and drape it over these 2 fingers. Then you're going to take your working yarn from the back and pull it over so that you make an X. And then just pinch it between your fingers. And you're going to go under this first strand and pull up a loop. Then you're going to go underneath this first part of your X. And you want to pull it through the loop that's on your hook. And there you have a magic ring. Now it's very important whenever you are crocheting into a magic ring that you are going into your ring and you're crocheting over your tail as well. So you want to make sure that both of these are hanging out over here on your left until you're done with your first round. So we need to put 10 single crochets into here. Now you're going to go underneath both of those strands and grab your working yarn, pull up a loop. Now you can kind of pinch this while you yarn over and pull it through. There's 1 single crochet. So we'll go in and pull up a loop. Kind of hold those in place so they don't slide around. Yarn over. And pull through both of those. There's 2. Into your loop. And grab your working yarn and pull it up. Yarn over. And pull through 2. Back in. Pull your yarn up, yarn over, and pull through 2. We're going to keep doing that until we have 10 single crochets in our magic ring. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now I'm going to pull on my tail a little bit here and draw this up, not all the way, not yet, but so that I can tell where I'm going to be going next. Okay, here's our very first single crochet from round 1. We are now going to be increasing all the way around, so we're going to be putting 2 single crochets in every single one of these. We'll have a total of 20 when we're done. So I'm going to go underneath the V there for that first stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and I'm going to stop right there and mark this stitch either with a stitch marker or with the piece of yarn. So I'm just going to insert my hook into that single crochet that I just made, and I'm going to pull it through like this so that when I get back around I'll know where to stop. So there's 1 to that first stitch. We need to go back and put 1 more, which is right here. I can kind of see the bottom of my stitch is going in right here. So I'm going to stick my hook back in there do another single crochet. So now I have 2 in there. I'm going to go over to this next stitch, and I'm going to put 2 single crochets into it. So there's 1, go back in that same hole, 2, all the way around, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right. For our next round, we are going to do 1 single crochet, and then we're going to increase in the next stitch. So it'll be 1 single crochet here, 2 in here, 1 in here, 2 in here. So this is why I like using this as a stitch marker. I don't have to pick it up and move it every time. I am just going to take it, drape it back over, and kind of hold it down while I make this very first single crochet. So I'm going to go right into here where my yarn is poking out, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet. Now in this next stitch, I'm going to be increasing, so I'm going to put 2. 1, 2. In the next stitch, I'm going to put 1. And in the next stitch, I'm going to increase. 1, 2. 1 in the next. And 2 in the next stitch. All the way around. 1 here, 2 here. 1 here, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2 in the next, 1, 2. 1 here, and 2 here. 1, and 2, 1, and 2. If you started with the 1 single crochet, then you should be ending with an increase right here. And that should give us 30. I'm going to take my hook out for just a minute and flip this over to this is going to be on the inside of our bee. I'm going to take my tail here and pull down on it to cinch up this hole. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to knot it a few times to make sure that it stays in place. That's one of the great things about amigurumi, is that when you have these tails, like when you do color changes, all you have to do is knot them. You don't have to weave them in. They'll all be hidden on the inside. I like to knot mine 3 times. Take my scissors and just cut that a little bit smaller. Okay. So rounds 4 through 6, we're actually just going to be putting 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So count these and make sure that you have 30. And I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to fold it to the back here and slide it so I can see my first single crochet. And I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every one of these stitches. You're through increasing. One in each stitch. Okay, round 5 is going to be the same thing. You're just going to move your stitch marker and put 1 single crochet into each stitch. And then round 6, you're going to be doing the same thing, but I want you to stop when you're 1 stitch short, so right before you finish. And I'll meet you back here. I'm 1 stitch short of finishing. Let's see, if you get lost on your rounds here, it's easier to count in Amigurumi. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so the reason I asked you to stop 1 stitch short was because we're about to change colors. So it's pretty easy. The way that you do that is you're going to go into that last stitch and pull up a loop, but you're going to stop right here and cut your yarn. Now you're going to use, in this case we're going to be using black, in order to finish your stitch. So I like to put my tail over here on the right. You're going to drape it over your hook, and you're going to pull the black through. And that completes the stitch in the same color, so the rest of that stitch is yellow, but our next stitch will be in black. And I'll show you how to do that again real quick. Okay, so you go through into that next stitch and pull up a loop. You're going to cut your yarn. Then you're going to take your black and put it on your hook. Then you're going to pull it through both of those loops. Now what you can do is look back here, and that tail that you cut, you can kind of pull in that. And for right now, we're just going to leave it kind of loose like that. Pull your stitch marker up. And we're still just going to be putting 1 stitch in each single crochet. So we go through that first one. Now you're going to need to make sure you have good lighting, because anytime you work with black, it's really hard to see to go back into it. But you're just going to be putting 1 single crochet into each stitch around. You should still have 30. Make sure you go into that last one. That's what it should look like at the end of round 7. And you can kind of tug on these. We'll tie them here in a minute. We'll tie them together to make sure that they stay in place. But so keep going around, and I will see you back here at the end of round 10. So I have made it to the end of round 10. I left one stitch unworked. But you can really see it. Black is so hard to work with. This stitch right here hasn't been worked. I'm actually going to pull this up. I'm going to go ahead and tie these. So I'm going to pull them tight, but don't pull them too tight. You don't want to take up any slack though. And you're just going to tie a few knots. I'm going to cut them just a bit. Okay, now we're about to switch back to yellow. So I'm going to go into this last stitch and pull up a loop in black. Then I'm going to cut it. And take my yellow. Drape it over the hook. Pull it through. Bring my stitch marker over. And then I'm going to continue crocheting around in yellow. Let's see. So you need to go from rounds 11 to 15. You'll be just going around and around again in yellow. And you need to have 30 stitches at the end of each round. And I will meet you back here at the end of round 15. Okay, I just finished round 15. So one of the very first things I'm going to do is look for a place to put my safety eyes. This is where the color kind of jogs right here, because this is like the beginning of our rounds. So I'm going to look for a place. Try right here. Sometimes you just have to put them in several times before you find a place that you really like, and sometimes you just don't like that. So I think I'm going to leave them here. You can do them further apart. The one thing that I would say to do though is to make sure that you're in between the same rounds. I see a lot of people, they'll put an eye right here. This is in between rounds 2 and 3 where I have this stuck in here. See, 1, 2, 3. They'll have this one between 2 and 3, and they'll have this one up here between 3 and 4, and it really throws it off. So just make sure that you have those in the same round so that they look nice and even. All right, those are there. Now I also need to go back here and tie where I did my last color change. I'm going to just tug on those and tighten them up a little bit. Tie it a few times. And cut them so that they're not really in our way. Now I'm also going to go ahead and start putting some stuffing in. I'm not going to fully stuff it yet until we decrease it a little bit more, but I like to make sure that I put stuffing in between the eyes. I'm just going to fill this up some. We'll continue stuffing it more as we decrease and start closing up this hole in the back. Okay, round 16 says that we need to do 1 single crochet and then we're going to do a decrease. I'm going to show you how to do invisible decreases with this. It's the only kind of decrease that I use whenever I do amigurumi. It just looks so much nicer. It doesn't have gaps. So I'm gonna put my stitch marker over. I'm gonna put one single crochet right here. Okay, so for these invisible decreases, you're going to go, you see both sides of this V here, you're going to go in between those. And then you're also going to go underneath that same part of the next V, yarn over, pull through those. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both. Now, sometimes it can kind of be confusing to know where to go next. A lot of times I have to like roll it up and I can tell that this part of this V has kind of been picked up. So I'm going to go into the next one and do 1 single crochet. Then I'm going to do another invisible decrease. Now, if you cannot figure out the invisible decreases, you could simply just do a single crochet decrease for these instead. You would just go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3. You can also decrease that way. It's just a little bit bulkier. So it's definitely an option if this is throwing you off. But I'm going to continue doing invisible decreases. So I'm going to go under this part of the V, the part closest to me, in the first stitch and in the second. Yarn over. I'd like to twist my hook down and pull it through those. Yarn over and pull through both. 1 single crochet and then decrease. Single crochet, and decrease. Now by the end of this round, we are only going to have 20. Single crochet, and decrease. All the way around. Single crochet, decrease, goodness, that was an acorn. Scared me. And you should end on a decrease. And I'm going to take this opportunity to stuff just a little bit more. After our next round is when we're really going to do most of our stuffing. All right, we only have 1 round left. So in this round, we are just going to decrease the entire round. So I'm going to continue doing invisible decreases. We'll have 10 at the end of this one. There's 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7, 8, 9. And like I said, I mean, you could do just a normal single crochet decrease and it would look fine. This is just a little bit more of an advanced technique, but it's, I mean, you might as well go ahead and learn it, right? So I'm going to stuff it. Well, I guess I can get rid of my stitch marker now. So I'm just going to pull this out. And I'm going to continue to stuff him. Now you definitely want to stuff more than you think you need. But not so much that you mess up his shape. So I'm just going to keep anywhere there's a void. I'm going to keep putting stuffing. As these are played with over time, the polyfill will kind of compact on itself and then it won't be as full. So you want to make sure you get a decent amount in there so that he can keep his shape. All right, I think that's sufficient. So I'm going to show you how to close this up now. You're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And then you're going to leave yourself at least a foot worth of yarn. And then go ahead and cut it. You're going to pull this up. Pull that knot tight. Now you need your tapestry needle. All right. Now you're going to, so the tops of our stitches are kind of facing the inside now. You can see them if you turn it like this. I am going to be going up into that front loop, just up underneath that. And I'm going to do that all the way around. Okay, now that you've done that, you are gently going to kind of pull on it and watch it close. I'm going to weave this in. By going that direction first, and then I'm going to go back the other way for a few stitches. And then I'm going to go back again just to secure it. Make sure it's never coming out. All right, now you can go ahead and trim that off. All right. Okay, we're going to be making the wings now. So you just need to take your white and we're going to make another magic ring. Tyler's awake now. Okay, so we have our magic ring here. And that counts as the first chain. So let's do one more chain. And then we're gonna do 6 half double crochets. So yarn over. Make sure you're crocheting over your tail and the ring. Go into it and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we're going to chain 2, and I assume we're going to slip stitch back in to our magic ring here. All right, now we're going to go ahead and cut the yarn. Leave it about a foot so that you can sew it in. Okay, I'm just going to pull that through. Now I'm going to take the tail and I'm going to pull on it. And there's one little wing. And we need to do that one more time. So make a magic ring. All right, chain 1. Now 6 half double crochets into the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 2. And I'm going to slip stitch back into here. All right. Leave about a foot and cut your yarn. And go ahead and pull that through. All right. So now I'm going to take my tail and thread it onto my tapestry needle. And I'm just going to weave it in just a little bit. This will also help ensure that it stays nice and closed, and nothing ever comes back out. Do the same thing for the other side. Cut that yarn. Now we need to sew them to our bee. So you can pin these if you like. Just gonna get an idea of where I think that I would like mine to go. I'm gonna say pretty much above, like where the eyes are. I'm just gonna hold this on here and get. So sewing the stuff on to amigurumi can be one of the trickiest parts. It just takes some experience, and just know that until you really tie it off and get ready to cut it, you can pretty much take it back out. Which I still have to do all the time. And there are lots of videos that tell you how to sew things on. I just kind of go for it. Until I think it's secure. The second thing that you're sewing on is always a little bit harder, especially if it needs to be even with the first. It always makes it a little trickier. All right, there is one little wing. So to get rid of this end, I'm just going to stick this into, into the body here, and I'm going to come up in between a stitch like that. Then I'm going to pull it pretty tight. And I'm going to make a little knot. Now I am going to clip it right on top of that knot. And then I'm going to take my scissors and just poke it back inside and kind of move it around, and it just disappears. Okay, we're going to sew the second wing on the same way that we sewed on our first wing. So let me see a point where I think is even. I'm just kind of taking turns, grabbing some on the wing and then going into the bee. I'm trying to make sure that I keep it only grabbing a little bit so that you can't really see it jutting out a whole lot. Whoa. All right, looking pretty good so far. This can definitely be one of the more tedious parts. Just trying to make sure everything looks even. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna stick the needle into my body pretty close to where I've been working and find a good space to put my needle through. And then I'm going to pull this pretty tight. Make a knot, clip it, and poke that back into the bee. All right, all that we really have left to do now is to embroider a smile if you'd like, which is totally optional. So you take a small piece of black yarn and tie a knot on one end and trim off any excess. Thread your tapestry needle. Now you're going to want to go through one of the bigger holes in between stitches. Then when you come up, you're going to want to split a stitch. And that way, the knot that you made on the end will not come through. I'm just going to kind of judge where I'd like that smile to set. And place my needle back in. I'm going to look for a hole up here. And I'm going to pull my thread through. This is where I like to take some tacky glue. And I will use tacky glue to kind of glue that smile in place. And then after your tacky glue is dry, you would just take this and cut it off and kind of give it a squeeze and it'll disappear inside of your bee. And there you go. There's Yunie's bumblebee pattern. Amigurumi. Thank you.